Listen, I don't know what is going on with the MMA world today, but when I woke up, it decided that, nah, you ain't going to have a quiet day because there has been constant news. Of course, if you're watching this on the day that it came out, then you know that, Dana White was teasing UFC 300 news and there was a couple little things going on. And we had that big announcement from Dana about that title fight at UFC 300 between Weili Zhang and Yan Xiaonan. But also, it seems like every European fighter in the UFC is currently signing a fight or a contract or something is happening. And then One Championship is also releasing news that I did not expect to see. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. Because if you checked out my preview for One Fight Night 18, which goes down in a couple of days at the time of recording this video, you can check the preview out on this channel. I did speak quite a bit in that video about 1165 and kind of the impact that card being later on this month has had on this Fight Night event, right? Which has been, a little bit under the radar, a little bit criticised for not being that strong. But, you look at this 1165 card and it is absolutely stacked, right? And that was why I was talking about it. And they've added more fights to it, which I did not think we were going to get, right? Before we talk about the fights that have been announced, let's look at the card for a brief second anyway, right? Looking at this, you've already got stellar main event, Superlek and Takeru, perfect, right? We knew we thought we were getting Takeru versus Rodtang, but either way, we've known that's been happening for a while. And expected, right, for Japan's return having Takeru debut. I'd pay the pay-per-view just to watch that fight, so anything else is a bonus as far as I'm concerned. Kei Brutolo versus Tommy Langacker, I think, is a really, really good submission grappling matchup. I know that it is a straight rematch after Cade already beat him, but Tommy's gone away and won an IBJJF World Championship, so he's going to have more confidence coming into this one. And just generally, I just think it's a good... it just makes sense to me. I know that, it is a straight rematch, as I said, but I still think it's a good matchup, and I'm excited to see if it's any closer after what Langacker has gone on to accomplish. Shinya Aoki versus Sage Northcutt. I don't know if we really needed to Sage fight Shinya Aoki. I know that he wanted it to happen. They were supposed to fight a couple of years ago, but after that performance against Ahmed Mishtaba, I think he probably could have just fought somebody else. But it's a cool moment for Sage to get to fight in Japan against a legend of the game like Aoki, and maybe it'll be one of Aoki's last fights, if not his last fight. Maybe it'll be his last fight in Japan, like all these different things. So I understand, and it's a cool fight anyway. Gary Tonon versus Martin Nguyen. An incredible matchup at featherweight. Of course, you've got the featherweight title unification fight coming up soon between Tan Lee and Tan Kai. So probably a number one contenders fight, this one. So that's good. Isuki Hirata looking to bounce back. I don't believe she's fought since her loss to Hamseo Hee, at least. Taking on Ayaka Miura, who is back competing in this division. So that's a great fight. Danny Kingad versus Yuya Wakamatsu. Great flyweight fight. Bokang Masanye versus Kaito Yamakita, great strawweight fight, and Hiromu Minowa versus Gustavo Bilar, another great strawweight fight, right? Like, apart from the big, Shinya Aoki versus Sage Northcutt, which was originally announced along with Rodtang and Takeru for this card, along with Gary Tonon taking on Martin Nguyen. Those other fights on the card have all got big stakes, right? And that is what I think is important, is that these aren't just like, oh, look at these two guys. It's like, okay, every fight on this card has stakes. And then we get to the fights that have been announced today, right? Because, my God, I did not see these coming. The one that makes the most sense to me would be Sitsuchai taking on Marat Grigorian. Great fight. Marat Grigorian obviously looking to bounce back from his loss to Chingiz Alazov. Sitsuchai is a legend. Obviously an incredible fighter. Both these guys are, when you talk about the reason why the featherweight kickboxing division in one is so good is because you've got these two guys in there along with, Chingiz Alazov and Superbon and some of the other guys as well. Sitchai did fight Marat Grigorian in Glory back in 2019, where Grigorian got the victory via decision, so you got a little bit of history between them there. It's no surprise that these guys have fought before, given how high level they are. That was their second fight, actually. They fought they fought 3 times. Wait, how many times have Sitchai and Marat Grigorian fought? Because I think I've just found 4. But hey, they've never fought in one before, so there's a first time for everything, as they say. So I'm excited for that fight. I think that's a great matchup, and it would be cool to see. Um, yeah, just a good fight. I think this probably could have been on any card. It's not one where you look at and go, oh, it has to be on this Japan card, but it's a great fight, so I'm happy to see it. You also have a heavyweight kickboxing contest on here between Raid Apachic maybe, taking on Iraj Azizpour. Don't know much about either of these guys, but I will do some research into them ahead of the actual fight night on January 28th. So I don't really know what to make of that. It's like, okay, I guess we'll have another fight. I think, to be honest, this card is going to be done by this point. I don't think we'll see anything else. But hey, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again, I'm very sure. And finally, the final fight that we're going to talk about. The one that you would have seen in the thumbnail. The one that I'm sure you probably saw on social media. One of the most bizarre fights I have ever seen one put together. And yet, I absolutely adore it. So at 165, a special rules super fight between Akiyama, or as most people know him, and as I prefer to know him, Sexyama, taking on Nicky Holzken, kickboxing legend. However, you might be thinking, but Akiyama competes in MMA and Nicky Holzken competes in striking, so what's happening here? Well, they are going to be having a mixed rules fight. But instead of the likes of Rod Tang and Demetrius Johnson, or even the fight that we were supposed to get between Stamp and Anissa Mexon, this will be 3 rounds, and each round will be a different rule set, starting with boxing, and then Muay Thai, and then MMA. I just don't know where this fight came from. I think that, a lot of people were saying that Akiyama would probably be back on this card. It makes a lot of sense if he is going to fight in one again. He seems very determined to do that. And, he's a big star in Japan, so it would be fun. However, and I also hold that thought. I think it also makes sense for him to be fighting a guy that is a legend and a veteran of the game who maybe isn't at the peak of his powers. Nicky Holzken is coming off of back-to-back losses. He isn't really in that world title picture anymore after those losses to Region Ursel, and he lost to Sinsumet as well, I believe, right? So he's not really in that world title picture. He's probably looking at retiring himself in the near future, maybe. He's 40 and Akiyama is 48. I'm so confused by this fight. But again, that's not me saying I hate this fight, because I'm really interested in this fight. Even if it is just because I'm like, why? Why? I mean, for a start, as I saw, mentioned on social media, you would imagine that Holzken will have quite an advantage in striking, and the first 2 rounds are striking, meaning that if Akiyama is going to make it to MMA, he has to go through 2 rounds of striking first, which just seems, it's literally the opposite of what they've done with every other mixed rules fight. And I say every other, of course, we didn't actually get Stamp and Anissa Mexon in the end, but it was scheduled to happen, where they alternate between, their favorite skill sets. But we don't get that this time. But hey, boxing and Muay Thai, cool. I'm into it. What a strange fight. But like I said, I'm well into it. So this card is absolutely stacked. Like I said, I don't imagine we'll get any more fight news related to this card. But like I said, I've been wrong again. So who knows? Let me know where you guys are at with these fights that have just been added to this card. Which fight on the card are you most looking forward to? I will have a bunch of videos probably coming out between now and the event itself. So let me know what you guys want me to talk about. If there's a specific matchup you want to see me do a whole video on, I will definitely be doing a big card preview for this whole thing and talking through each one of these fights because they're all worth talking about, I think. So stay tuned for that. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it, and I will see you very soon.